Hello and welcome everyone. Elena Rarick here with Transform Publishing and Transform International, here with one of our top clients, Henry Saas. How are you doing today, Henry?
Doing well. How are you doing, Elena?
I am doing so good because I finally got you on camera. So yay for me. So Henry's in the hot seat today. I have 6 questions that are about to fly at him. So Henry, are you ready to be in the hot seat?
I feel like I already am. Go ahead.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Question number 1. When did you realize that you wanted to write a book?
It was probably 3 to 5 years ago. The event that I'm writing about actually took place a number of years ago, and I kept mulling it over. Do I want to write about this or don't I? And so I decided to start writing about it. And my intention was to just simply write about what took place, what I did with my sons. My book is called Honor Our Sons, as you can see behind you, but the plan was to document what I did with my kids and publish that. And then I hooked up with an editor who had a much bigger vision for my book and said, well, we're going to do something different. And that happened to be you. So I ended up, I'm still in the process actually of building this bigger thing than just what I thought. And I just hope it goes off really well.
Oh, it is. It's coming together very nicely. As I said, your book is one of our top books. I absolutely love it. So, all right, next question. What would you say is one of your interesting writer's quirks?
Well, not knowing very many other writers, I don't know what their quirks are. I would assume that we all do. And my quirk might be the same as somebody else. But for me, what I've noticed is that I end up zoning in. It's sometimes, I think the harder part is for me to get started. Throughout the day, every day, it's going in my head. What am I going to talk about? How am I going to say it? Do I want to bring up a different example than what I've got? So it's always with me. But the way that I want to say it sometimes stops me from just getting into the chair and starting to write, because I want it to be perfect, of course. And I have you to help make it perfect, of course. And I sometimes forget that. So my quirk is getting started, the difficulty in getting started. And once I'm there, though, it's hard to get me out of it. I mean, hours can pass by and I don't even know it. I'm reminded of something a dear friend of mine said about one of the justices of the Supreme Court, and I'm paraphrasing here, writing is extremely difficult. That whole process is not very much fun. But when something is written well and the product is finished, it's a thing of beauty. So it's my hope to create, with your help, a thing of beauty.
You are doing a fantastic job, and I will definitely agree with you that getting started for you is difficult, but once you sit down, I mean, I'm getting chapters from Henry that are 17 pages. So once he sits down, he is off and running. But I love it because you give us so much content to work with and to shape into the book that it needs to be. So
Well, that's what you told me. You said I'd much rather have more content than less. And so it's, blah, here it is.
oh yeah, we had a client once came to us with a book of 25 pages. And I had to turn that into 150.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I would much rather you give me 17 pages and me bring it down to 6 to 8 pages. So you're doing awesome, though. You really are. You're a great writer.
Well,
All
it's
right.
just really, really hard to slice and dice what's really important to keep and what's not so important.
Well, I don't even know if you know this, but I have a document that everything that I'm deleting, I throw it onto another document so we still have the content.
Good. We might need it.
Yes, yes. All right. So you did touch on this a little earlier, but I would like to see you go into more depth because your next question is where did you get your information and ideas for your book?
Oh my gosh. Well, it really came out of my own personal journey. Many years ago, I, well, I was born at a very early age. I'm not going to start back then, but my childhood wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst by any means, but there were things that I learned as a child that got in my way as an adult. And through the through the years, I worked hard at trying to resolve the issues in my life that kept bubbling up as a result of the lack of training or mentoring or guidance that I had as a child, as a young adult. Finally, and unfortunately late, as far as I'm concerned, in my early 40s, I started to really get in with, I had a good counselor. And then 4 years later, I had a great friend of mine invite me to do a men's training adventure weekend. And I would say between those two things, that really jump started my growth from boyhood into manhood. It really helped to grow the boy that was in a man's body into a man in a man's body. This men's training adventure occurred only over a weekend, but it was followed up by something called I groups, which are integration groups. And so I met every week for 2.5 years with a group of men who had gone through either the same weekend I did or a similar weekend with the same organization. And we worked at trying to integrate what we learned on our weekend into our daily lives. And since then, every day, that's what I work on. And part of this process is about teaching others. I want to teach others how to honor and initiate their sons and daughters into adulthood. And as I teach, I become a better student. So it's some of it is for selfish reasons that I write a book to teach others, because it reminds me of how important it is for me to continually practice being a good, decent, healthy man. I hope that answers your question.
It does.
Yeah, so that's the background. So I did something with my kids when they were 15 years old. I don't know if I should uh, say this now, but I will. But I have triplet sons, and when they were 15, I knew at some point in their teenage years I wanted to do something that would mark their life, that would lay down a trail marker for them to say, you are no longer seen as a boy in the eyes of your mom and dad. You are now seen as a man. And with that comes responsibilities, different responsibilities than what you've had before now. So that's what the guts of this book is about, is that particular initiation and blessing ceremony that I did with my sons. And with your help, I am expanding it to try and help other men grow into their manhood, grow into their mature masculinity, and do the same with their sons and or daughters. They don't have to do the same thing I did, but to do something would be beautiful.
Absolutely. And your story is amazing. Your transformation from who you used to be to who you are now, and how you're just an overcomer. And I think you're an inspiration to so many boys and men out there. So I'm really excited that you're writing this book. And like I said, you're one of our top clients. It's one of our best books that we've been able to work on. So congratulations for that, Henry.
Thanks.
So with saying that, tell us what your family thinks about you writing this book and becoming a published author.
Well, now that my sons are grown, I mean they're 36 now, almost 37. They know I'm doing it. I know that I've been prodded by one of them. Hey, Dad, do you have your book yet? Because I want to give it to two men I know at church. And so some of that helps to keep me motivated to get this thing done. So they haven't. I think they're proud of the fact that I'm writing this. as I said, I really initially started out on doing this just simply to document for them and for my grandkids what I did for my kids. And so I know that they're proud of me. I know my wife is proud of me. She is, I know that there's a part of her that loves to read as I go along. She loves to read every chapter. And there's a part that both she and I have, and that is get this project done, for crying out loud, so that I can sit back and enjoy handing it out to men and talk to other men and boys about their journey. This really, and I never want this to be about me, it's not about me. It's about us as men and as fathers and husbands and as sons and brothers. How can we bring the best of us to our world, our community, our families, our relationships?
Amen. And I will say you have a very supportive wife. And I love when we have our weekly meetings and she comes and joins in and I get to talk to her too. And she gives feedback and definitely helpful with this book. And you should consider yourself very blessed because not everybody has a spouse who's so helpful in fulfilling the dream of writing a book. So
Yeah, I am grateful.
you are, I know. All right. So next, what is one of the most surprising things that you've learned about the process of writing a book?
It's harder than I thought it was going to be. At the same time, it's a bit cathartic. As I mentioned earlier, I've done a lot of work on myself. I've tried to really invest in myself through counseling, through a men's weekend. I've also facilitated some what I call circles of men. And all of that is to help grow me, to keep me maturing and understanding the different phases in my life. The thing that I guess I learned about the process, besides it being harder, is it's revisiting some of these more difficult times in my life. And it's been years now, decades now for some of this. And it doesn't make me angry anymore about that. Yeah, I wish that I had a different childhood, or I wish that I had caught on earlier. It just makes me sad. I wish that I did catch on earlier. And so the part of this book is cathartic. I'm able to see how far I've come, and I'm sad that things took place back then. If I had just been aware and had taken more responsibility for myself, for my actions, for my decisions. So cathartic, helpful, reassuring. There's some joy in that because I've grown so much and I'm still focused on being a decent human being and working hard, as I said, every day to keep that going.
Beautiful. Very well said. So with that, do you plan on writing another book?
No.
I will tell you, Henry
I
and I
know
have a
you. Go
Henry
ahead.
and I have a tug of war relationship because he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant, and you will see it when you read this book. It's a masterpiece, to say the least. I don't even know how to tell you how amazing it is. You just have to read and find out for yourself. And he's very intellectual, but yet talks to person, man to man, his counsel, his wisdom, all of that. And the one way we learn wisdom is by making mistakes and doing things the wrong way for so long, and the consequences, and then we become wise. And unfortunately, Henry, you had to go through some junk to get to where you are, but it's really transformed you into an amazing man with such high intellect and so much greatness to share with people. So we have this tug of war that I know there's another book that he needs to write because we can't put it all in this book, but we'll get him there. We'll see. Okay, so
We'll see.
he says no, I say maybe.
I say no. Or is
See,
it Yes.
It's this. It's a
Yeah.
yes.
We'll see.
So we'll see where it goes. But yes, we're gonna focus on this book now. But I think you have a lot of books left in you, but at least one more that would be important for you to do to follow this one. But Henry, that's it for this interview. So you are now allowed to get out of the hot seats. And I will see you on this other side of this camera. And for all the viewers, thank you for watching the interview. If you want to get a hold of Henry to know more about the topic of the book, or to maybe you are really interested in doing some sort of initiation blessing ceremony with your son, and you don't want to wait for the book to come out, and you really want to pick his brain or talk to him or follow the process of us writing this book, him writing it, me just helping. Henry, how would people get a hold of you? Do you want to give out an email address or anything?
Sure. It would be honoroursons@gmail.com.
Perfect.
And it's just like the book cover behind you.
Yep, right behind
All
me.
one word.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, Henry, for being in the hot seat. And bye, everybody. Have a blessed week.
Thank you.